It all started with a grand vision meant to reshape one of the most iconic fairy tales in cinematic history. For decades, Snow White had been regarded as Walt Disney's crowning achievement, an enchanting classic that captivated audiences worldwide. Yet somewhere between the promise of a modern reimagining and the realities of Hollywood politics, this new production spiraled into a charged controversy. Did anyone see the monumental clash coming, or was it inevitable the moment the studio signed on a cast member ready to challenge expectations at every turn? Disney originally teased the new Snow White as a fresh and daring retelling. Executive statements hinted at an innovative approach. No longer would the heroine be defined by a glass coffin or a prince's timely kiss. Instead, she was supposed to be dynamic, brave, and, according to Disney, reflective of a more inclusive era. Initial social media chatter was cautiously optimistic. Fans hoped the creative team would expand upon the original animation's magic rather than demolish it. Yet, behind the glowing press releases and staged interviews, skepticism took root. People began to wonder if the studio's ambition to modernize the classic would overshadow the timeless charm that made Snow White an instant legend. By the time the first promotional stills leaked, doubt grew louder. Critics, influencers, and even casual fans noticed stark changes that felt less like a respectful update and more like a radical shift, one that might have lost sight of what made the old fairy tale resonate across generations. The hype surrounding a bold new direction took on a different meaning as early watchers claimed the film seemed to deviate so drastically that the original story's spirit felt lost. But that was only the beginning of the frustration. From the moment Rachel Zegler was announced as the lead, conversations about her casting overshadowed nearly every other aspect of the film. Some welcomed the idea of broadening the character's background, arguing that fresh representation could breathe new life into a dated fairy tale. Others were deeply attached to the pale-skinned princess of the classic animation. Social media became a battlefield of opinions, ranging from cautious optimism to outright indignation. Leaked rumors hinted that even Disney's top executives were torn. On one hand, they wanted to push forward with an updated Snow White that would resonate with modern audiences. On the other, they faced the potential alienation of longtime fans. Back-and-forth arguments reportedly erupted during script revisions. Instead of uniting fans behind a confident new direction, each new leak or snippet of behind-the-scenes gossip seemed to magnify existing divisions. And somewhere in that chaos, Rachel Zegler's public comments would set off an even greater storm. Few anticipated the seismic impact Rachel Zegler's personal views would have on the production. While outspoken celebrities are nothing new, her bold tweets and interviews criticizing the very concept of a traditional Snow White riled up both fans and Disney itself. Speculation ran wild about whether she was pushing for script changes to reflect a drastically different story or just speaking candidly about outdated tropes. Either way, the damage was done. Memes, heated debates, and trending hashtags turned the film into a cultural lightning rod, often for the wrong reasons. Reports then began circulating that Zegler was quietly removed from multiple upcoming Disney projects. Some claimed it was a direct result of the backlash, while others insisted these were creative decisions unrelated to her public statements. Regardless of the official explanation, her rumored dismissals fed into a narrative of industry retaliation. That sense of bitterness seemed to fuel her further. Zegler doubled down on her stance in subsequent interviews, describing critics as hostile and ignorant of the film's modern messaging. Suddenly, a project once described as a fun reimagining became emblematic of deeper issues within Hollywood, from representation to corporate politics. Still, this was just the tip of the iceberg. Beyond Zegler's own controversies, the studio faced a domino effect. So-called insiders whispered about friction between the actress and several of the film's producers, culminating in uneasy compromise after uneasy compromise. Each conflict led to more speculation, more gossip, and more public scrutiny. But that wasn't the whole story. Just as the film seemed to be drowning in social media drama, another storm rolled in, this time from the critics. It is no secret that Disney maintains a long-standing relationship with entertainment journalists. More often than not, mainstream reviews tend to treat the studio's big releases with cautious favor. But in this case, waves of skepticism started breaking that tradition. Early screenings reported a disjointed narrative, a jarring mishmash of ill-fitting jokes, and a storyline that veered wildly away from the original's charm. Critics who once praised Disney's attempts to modernize their classics now questioned whether the studio had overstepped. Was Disney losing its magical touch, or had the team behind Snow White simply missed the mark? Meanwhile, Bob Iger attempted to calm the swirling negativity with optimistic press statements, reaffirming his confidence in the film's ability to capture the hearts of a new generation. Yet each reassurance seemed to deepen the cynicism. Even the most dedicated Disney loyalists wondered if these critiques were just a bad omen or a grim reflection of the studio's current struggles to please both new audiences and legacy fans. As harsh reviews began to circulate, Zegler herself reportedly took aim at these voices, branding certain critics as biased, out of touch, or fixated on narratives that she believed misrepresented the film's core message. Yet the more she or Disney tried to shift the conversation, the more entrenched the backlash became. And soon, another controversy overshadowed them all, fueling an even bigger uproar. One of the earliest and loudest controversies revolved around how the iconic seven dwarfs would be portrayed, or, in some versions, replaced entirely. Rumors flew that Disney was skirting tradition to avoid perceived stereotypes, introducing instead a band of fantastical creatures that looked nothing like the beloved dwarfs from the original film. Fans took to social media to express disappointment, feeling as if these changes were made without understanding the dwarfs' significance to the tale. Across message boards, longtime Disney aficionados argued that diminishing or radically altering these classic companions cut into the heart of Snow White's story. The dwarfs represented more than comedic sidekicks; they symbolized community, loyalty, and rescue in a world of danger. But from the studio's perspective, they reportedly saw the changes as necessary to avoid certain comedic tropes. The argument that viewers are tired of outdated fantasy elements drew both support and condemnation. Ultimately, the dwarfs fiasco became a blazing example of the tightrope Disney walks between modernization and preserving iconic tradition. But the furor didn't stop there. Critics and fans alike started wondering if the entire film was systematically stripping away everything recognizable about the classic. Even the illustrious presence of Gal Gadot couldn't shield the film from controversy. Gadot's casting as the evil queen initially thrilled many, who expected her star power to lend depth and spark to the role. Yet her involvement soon became overshadowed by Zegler's public feuds and the broader negativity surrounding the project. Gossip circulated about whether Gadot, known for her generally upbeat diplomatic persona, felt frustrated by how the film's production overshadowed her role. Statements Gadot made in interviews about empowering female characters went largely unnoticed, drowned out by the drama swirling around her co-star. While she hadn't been as vocal about the controversies, some speculated that she found herself caught in an uncomfortable crossfire, wanting to promote a movie that had already become an easy target. It was a stark reminder that even big-name talent could be subdued by the raging storm of online discord, and the hits just kept coming. As the controversy grew to a deafening pitch, whispers emerged that Disney was seriously considering major last-minute changes. Some alleged that an executive decision demanded reshoots to recalibrate the film's tone. Others claimed entire subplots were being quietly rewritten to appease traditional fans, as well as to better align with Disney's brand image. The cost of such drastic changes would be astronomical, and it was unclear whether the film's budget could sustain it. Alongside the rumors of reshoots, speculation about possible delays made the rounds in Hollywood circles. Was Disney stalling for time to strategize a more careful marketing campaign? Would the negative press damage opening weekend attended so badly that it couldn't recover? As fans braced themselves for disappointing news, a new kind of tension crept in, one less focused on Zegler's meltdown or the dwarfs' fiasco, and more on whether the production would see the light of day as planned. Such buzz also ignited talk about future live-action projects. If Snow White, a cornerstone of Disney's legacy, could face such overwhelming backlash, what hope did other planned remakes stand? Insiders hinted that some creative teams were taking a wait-and-see approach, wanting to gauge the public's reaction before forging ahead. But that wasn't the whole story either, because Snow White's troubles weren't just about one film or one actress. They signaled a broader reckoning that was reshaping Hollywood from the inside out. In an era where social media can elevate a movie to cult status or doom it to flop before its release, the power dynamics in Hollywood have undeniably shifted. Disney's predicament with Snow White served as a glaring illustration of how quickly a production can unravel if it fails to strike the right balance. The tension between updating a beloved tale for modern audiences and respecting its original essence became a cautionary tale for the entire industry. Moreover, the meltdown exposed growing frustrations that go beyond a single actress's behavior. Controversies over representation, fair pay, creative freedom, and corporate influence boiled to the surface. Fans and critics demanded authenticity and depth, while studios scrambled to navigate a gauntlet of political correctness, audience nostalgia, and skyrocketing production costs. All the while, star power alone seemed insufficient to carry a film to success if the storytelling itself felt off-kilter. Disney's credibility, honed through nearly a century of enchanting tales, was on the line. With social media fueling real-time discourse, each new rumor or statement could spark a fresh round of debate. Rachel Zegler's candid opinions about pay structures in streaming, or her callouts of critics she deemed ignorant, reflected a larger conversation about Hollywood's evolving ecosystem. And there was no guarantee that once the dust settled, Disney's Snow White would emerge unscathed. The stakes were higher than ever for a studio that prided itself on forging fantasies that shaped entire generations. In the grand tapestry of Disney's history, this reimagining of Snow White stood poised to be either a triumphant milestone or a sobering cautionary tale. The controversies, from Rachel Zegler's heated remarks to the studio's polarizing creative decisions, laid bare the challenges of updating a classic for the modern age. Fans who grew up on the original cherished its simplicity and the timeless bond between Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Today, those same fans grapple with a production that appears to dismantle the very elements that once made the story so cherished. Whether the film ultimately soars or sinks, the aftershocks of its production will likely echo far beyond the box office. Each sensational headline and fiery social media debate has etched a lesson into Hollywood's collective consciousness. Tampering with a beloved classic demands the utmost care, transparency, and respect. Disney might have thought it could weather this storm with glitzy marketing and big-name stars, but the dramatic twists indicate a rapidly changing industry, one where audiences have stronger, faster, and louder ways to voice their discontent. So now, the question lingers. Is it too late to salvage Snow White's legacy, or can Disney turn this upheaval into a triumphant comeback story? As the studio wrestles with damage control and the public remains on high alert for any sign of improvement, only time will reveal the final chapter. Until then, the meltdown rages on, painting a vivid picture of how one of the world's most trusted dream factories might have lost its footing in the age of instant judgment. And what happens next could either reshape Disney's approach for decades to come or serve as the final straw that topples a fairy tale once thought invincible.